Hey, James, knock, knock.
Who's there?
An interrupting cow.
An interrupting.
Moo! All right, guys, welcome to the podcast. Another episode of Coffee is for Closers. It's me and James today. Yes, this is where you say hello, James.
Hey, guys. How we going?
There we go. Today we're
Didn't
talking
wanna
about
interrupt.
interruptions. How dare you? This is a good way to start. Now, today we're talking about interruptions, tactful...
Into what?
How dare you? You got me, you son of a bitch. We're going to talk about tactfully interrupting and how to make sure that we prevent unproductive tangents.
If you listen to this podcast, you will make your first million within 3 years. I'm going to repeat that. You will make $1 million within 3 years of the first episode you listen to. We don't want pikers. We're not here to save the manatees. We're here to make podcasts. You really want this. You listen and review.
Put that coffee down.
Alrighty. Interruptions. Let's chat about them. So it's one of the ideas. It's a question that we get a lot. And this isn't, I'm not saying that in the form of an Instagram person that says they get asked about their skincare routine. It actually is a question that we get brought up a lot in coaching calls. Mm-hmm. And how do we tactfully interrupt people? How to make sure that we don't go on tangents? And what happens when we have a tangent?
And more importantly, how do we interrupt someone correctly without coming across as a dick? Which you'll probably notice me do a few times.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a couple of good ways to interrupt. Well, first of all, talk about tangents and why they're so incredibly unproductive. And I guess what happens when you allow people to go on tangents throughout a sales call. And really the biggest thing is that I'm not Tony Robbins, so I can really only speak for myself and my abilities to carry heavy emotional conversations for long periods of time. But really, I can't do it for an hour and a half. So I try and keep my sales calls between 30 and 45 minutes. That's really the time that I think is optimal for it. And so if a tangent goes for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and some tangents can go for 10, 15 that I've heard. We were doing a review of one of our sales guys' calls, and he went on a 15-minute tangent because they had a lot in common, which is a bit of a trap. We can talk about that later, the rapport trap. But it just means that the things that you actually need to get out of the way are just getting pushed back, and any real good work that you did at the beginning of the call, that's getting further and further and further away from where you are now. And it's difficult for people to recall that, or it's difficult for people to, I guess, it's just difficult for us as salespeople and our business owners to hold that emotion the whole way through. And it just becomes a really, really difficult game to play. And that's why I think tangents are just incredibly unproductive.
Yeah. So going on tangents is sales reps use that as a way to, I guess, build rapport. But going on those tangents, as you're building that rapport, you're losing the pain of the reason why they're on the call, because you're taking away from that area that you've built up that pain to overcome down the track.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a huge low-hanging fruit, I think, for people to fix. So the way to fix it quickly without learning about deflections and interruptions and all that kind of stuff and how to do that properly, but the best way to do it is have a listen to your calls and then try to get your word economy better and say things in the most eloquent way, and only allow them to say things that are ultimately the most productive to get them back onto that sort of yellow brick road of sales. And so what I mean by that is, if you're having a conversation and you're chatting about someone's goals or you're chatting about someone's problems, you don't want to uncover too many problems, because that's going to think about it, it's going to cause a lack of clarity. And tangents have a way of uncovering more and more and more, which is good to a point. But when I was coaching Dan the other day, Dan's one of our junior sales reps, he was uncovering all kinds of problems, and his calls were going for 90 minutes, and his triage calls were going for half an hour, and they're supposed to be 15 minutes. And so I said, okay. Yeah. He goes, I really just want to make sure I get all the good information. And I said, well, what do you consider to be good information? He goes, well, problems. I go, okay, man, that's fair. I said, but what happens when you have uncovered too many problems? He goes, you have a lack of clarity. And I said, okay, and what do you need to make a decision? You need clarity. I said, okay, so are we really doing ourselves a service by uncovering so many problems and allowing them to talk about so many different things that we make them so unsure of themselves and their own decision-making process that they're probably not going to buy. Yep. And he was like, that's a pretty good point. And I was like, yeah, man, we need to just stick to one or two things. That's really all we need to do. And not let them go on all these tangents where they talk about their brother and their mother and their cousins, but we need to keep it to, we're not there to be their friend. We're there to be an advisor, and we're there to talk to them about specific things, and we could build rapport, but we have to keep a leash on it. And like James, you've probably had this before, right? Where you're talking to someone and they're kind of saying your thing and they go, so anyway, how annoying is that? It is, oh man, it's so aggravating. So we need to interrupt people effectively, and we need to do it in a way that makes them feel heard, because in sales, you have to feel heard. If you're not feeling heard, then the person isn't going to get your problems. They're not going to understand you. You're not going to become a trusted advisor.
Yep.
And so the way that I do it, and the way that we teach interruption training in the closing code, link in description, first week only $1. Pretty crazy deal.
Good deal.
I know, right? Is that I teach people to go, okay, well, that makes sense. You'd sort of mentioned this. Do you mind if I ask you about that? And we wait for like a moment of pause in their breath, the moment they're not talking, and you have to do it and go, okay, that makes sense. You sort of asked about this. And so what you're doing is they know that you're listening, and then you're absorbing what they're saying, and you're just asking them to clarify about a certain point that they've said so that they go back onto it. So if you've got this like straight line, as Jordan Belfort would put it, or the yellow brick road or whatever, basically the fastest point between two lines is always a straight line. So if this is where they're starting and we're trying to get them to a sale, they're going to go like this, but we need to make those like peaks and troughs as small as possible so that we can sort of carry it as fast as possible. And so if the tangent goes that way, we need to sort of get them back on track as quick as possible. And how we do that is through those tactful interruptions. Like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Now, the key to doing that is actually listening to them. Because if you're not really listening to them and you don't have a quiet mind, then you're going to miss a lot of things. That's why I have cards, actually, by the way, for those of you who see. Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, no. That was a terrible interruption. Exactly. I actually had a conversation with my wife about it, and because I was talking, and she goes, so anyway, and I said, oh my God, you have to never do that again, because that is a great way to not influence people into doing what you want. So if you're going to interrupt me, do it this way. And ever since then, she's done it because she sees that it gets a far more productive outcome.
Yeah. And you could see just there for the guys watching this on the video, Matt's immediate body language as I said that.
Yeah, I was like, fuck you.
Exactly. And that's what people think, because it feels like when you say so anyway, it feels like you aren't listening to them. Or they feel that you're not listening to them. You're not involved in their conversation because you're just waiting to butt in and talk about something you want to talk about, as opposed to being with them in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key to sales, who was I talking to? I think it might have been Dan again, because I don't take notes during calls. I recommend it. I think it's a good idea, but for me, I really struggle to take notes and listen. Like it does the opposite effect for me. So I have a quiet mind strategy of cards. So as you can see, for those of you looking at home, you can't really see that it's behind, two little funny things, one-handed cuts, perfect shuffles, fans, all that kind of stuff, right?
For me, it's the pen.
Yeah. I used to do the pen stuff. Like,
I do take notes.
Yeah. I don't like taking notes. So if ever I'm doing even a Zoom call, I have it down here like this. And then I'm sort of doing my Zoom call like that. And for those of you who wonder, this is the clothes that I wear when I do Zoom calls. I pitched a $100,000 deal to a corporate the other day wearing this exact outfit.
You didn't wash it either.
No, I haven't even changed. So yeah, I always wear hats. I like hats. It makes me comfortable. I've worn a hat since I was a kid. It's probably a subconscious pathological need to wear them at this stage. It makes me feel safe or something. I don't know.
Yeah, tell me more about your hats. Tell me about
I got a lot of hats, man. I only wear one brand, and that's Mitchell and Ness, because they're the best hats.
Can you now you see how he started going on a tangent there about hats, and it's now unproductive to the audience.
Well done.
A sales call.
See, people love talking about themselves, right? So it's so easy to get them to talk about shit like that, but that was entirely unproductive for everybody.
That was
except for me, because I like talking about my hats. I'll have to do a bit of a thing on my little cabinet over there with all my military stuff.
Going back, as we started talking about those hats, do you remember specifically what we were talking about 5 minutes ago?
No, I don't.
exactly. And that could have been
Good
your
lesson,
main point
James.
during the sale.
Good lesson, James. Look at that. Bringing something to the table.
For once.
We might have to mark this occasion. I might have to put it on Facebook. James provided value.
If you were a note taker,
14th of August, 2020. James provided value. So I just think it's a funny thing, right? Because everyone talks about building rapport and how important it is. And I don't really think it is that important, to be honest. I don't think people buy from you because they like you. I think people buy from you because they feel that you can solve their problems.
Absolutely.
And so you obviously can't be not liked. I think that's like, if they don't like you, they're never going to buy from you. But liking you isn't ever going to be like, oh, well, it's between these two great products and one of them is way better than the other, but I really like the salesperson.
Liking them is just a bonus because it makes it easier to work with them.
Exactly. And you're not going to be working with a sales guy anyway. For me, I don't build rapport and I don't do any agendas. I just go, hey man, it's just Matt from Sales Sniper. You booked in a call with me today. What is it that you hope to get out of the call? That is my opening statement. That's where I start. That's where I go and my calls are like short. I can sell a $15,000 package paid in full, good to go in 30 minutes. And it's because I don't do any of the faff. I don't do any of the rapport building, the agenda setting, any of that. I command the call through the questions that I ask.
Okay. So tell me about when you used to do that and what changed. Because I know for a fact that there was a bit of that back in your early days in sales, as was mine.
Yeah.
What changed?
Sure. Well, it was funny. I always used to go into the why a lot, which I go into less these days, unless I feel like I really need to. It's a good arrow to have in the quiver, if that makes sense, to go into their why. I think you can kind of get it without asking for it, if that makes sense a lot of the time. And so I think the biggest change was sort of switching over sales styles from a more combative point of view, where I needed to build a rapport to be liked because I was going to annihilate them on the back end if they said no. So I feel like that's probably the biggest change. And that change came with working with Jeremy and sort of having that more NEPQ, which I always forget the acronym. It's like neuro emotional programming questions or something like that. I should know it because I'm like his top student, but it's a great way of selling anyway. So I'd say that was a big game changer for me, because when I was talking to him, I was like, hey, how long are your sales calls? He's like, 25 minutes. I'm like, oof, okay. He's like, for what? He's like, for anything. And then I was like, well, do you get their why? He goes, what do you mean? And I was like, oh, and he's like, do you set an agenda? Yeah. And he's like, no. He's like, what do you do for rapport building? He's like, why do I need to build rapport? And I'm like, oh, this guy's a savage. And he sells like millions and millions and millions of dollars a month.
He also does that over 2 25-minute calls. So now it's Loop 1. Is that right? Or
a lot of the time, it really depends on the product. A lot of it's like a 20 and a 25. So it's a 20-minute discovery that goes through the pain points, then a 25-minute sales call, which is essentially just a pitch presentation. That's it, which we've adopted for Serhnant and we've adopted for a couple other ones. And we're doing an account with Jeremy as partners for this guy. I won't say his name, for a PR deal. And that's exactly how we'll be doing it, which is great, because to boast, Jeremy's a sales trainer for Google. So he's a pretty big time player, makes a lot of money. He's very good at what he does. And he said he's been waiting for 4 years to find someone that he feels comfortable partnering with. So that's great.
We'll chalk that down to the 14th of the 8th when James put in that input.
Exactly. I think that was probably the key. He knew it was coming, the son of a bitch. Yeah. But I think that's probably enough on interruption training, because I think it's really productive. I think the only thing you need to do is go back through, listen to your calls, and then sort of figure out on a no bullshit level, was that a productive line of questioning? Did it bring me closer to the sale, or did it make me feel better? And
you'll see like some of the core reviews in that inside the portal that we have for the closing code, where we can go into that in a bit more detail and review things, as opposed to doing it on a podcast. If you want that extra detail, definitely.
Yeah. Also go into our YouTube channel. It's just Matt Ryder. There's there's 2 core reviews in there, I believe. And there's a couple of mock sales calls and a couple of real sales calls in there as well. So there's a couple of good core reviews in there that are quite in depth. There are long videos. They're about an hour long video, because you have to hear the whole sales call plus hear me interject throughout it. So there you go. If you guys want some examples and some training for freebies, or you can, just go ahead at that. Let's talk about what's happening in Sales Sniper right now. I think people seem to be somewhat interested in that, or at least I am. I don't really give a fuck about the people listening.
Actually, I get a lot of comments and people are interested to know what's happening in the business, steal ideas and whatnot from us. It's great.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a better thing to talk about.
What's that?
First hater. Let's
let's
talk about
we'll
that.
call him JV because that's his initials, and he is JV. Yeah, it's not the first hater, but it was the first. It was the first.
Definitely not.
It was the first public hater. He went and commented on a few things on Facebook, and it was pretty funny. Told me I clearly didn't know who I was dealing with, and that he would sell circles around me, and he closes at 90%. I was like, "You're a legend. I like you very much." Yeah, and then a bunch of people came to bat for us, which is always good.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because he deleted all the comments before I got to see them. So I woke up to it. It was like, oh man,
I missed it.
I would have had so much fun playing with this guy.
Yeah, I do like that. It's funny. It's funny, right? We are very much about taking the high road. We get whenever a client fucks us over, or whenever a salesperson fucks us over, or whatever. So when anything happens, because everyone gets fucked over, we always just go, whatever. Someone steals our stuff. We've had guys come into the business, get 2-3 months of training, and then just leave, and then go out and sell our shit. So
it's gonna happen.
It is what it is. The funny thing is we progress our stuff quite regularly, and we make so many small tweaks as we go that what they got 3 months ago is now probably 10 times better now, because we do so many sales calls. We have so much opportunity to be able to change stuff. But I think the really interesting thing is that we're starting to sort of branch a little bit outside just the coaching industry. I had a building company approach me about training their sales staff, which is cool. They have 16 sales staff. They do about $12 million a month in sales at the moment, but it's run like a 1980s coked out boiler room. So there's no tracking, no nothing, no processes, no systems, no organization, no data collection. Yeah,
just a whiteboard that has the name of the guy with the biggest dick.
Exactly. That's pretty much it. One of the guys did $100,000 in comms last month, so that's a bit of savagery. Good on him. What's that,
awesome.
1.2 million a year, something like that? I think everyone's riding a bit of a wave at the moment, though, and I think they can see it coming to an end because there's a lot of subsidies, especially in WA, where I live, which is Western Australia. A lot of government subsidies to incentivize people to buy housing. They've dropped stamp duty and a bunch of other things to make it easier for people to purchase. So right now, there's a bit of an economic boom going on in new house and land grabs. And WA's just got so much fucking land that's undeveloped because nobody lives here. It's 1/3 of Australia and has a population of 1 million people. So for those of you in the United States, it's 1/3 of the continental United States with 1 million people living in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Oregon, Washington, California, Nevada, Colorado, probably Wyoming, and Texas with 1 million people in it. And there's still fucking traffic.
And the reason there's only 1 million people there is because it's boring as shit.
Yeah, it can be. That's for sure. But, it's less boring than some places, more boring than other places. So how's the operational side of things going? How are you keeping up with the massive influx? By the way, we have a guy who wants us to have some salespeople in the States. So he just reached out to me today. It's a good offer.
Yeah, how's it going? Is it not good because there's too much work to be done? Hence why we're needing to hire someone to come on and take over as COO.
That's right. Let's put it on the podcast. See if anybody gets back to us. Anybody have to listen to the podcast? We're looking for a COO. It's a pretty good salaried position with good bonus incentives, full-time role, preferably in Australia. And hit us up at the Matt@yoursalesniper.com. YOURSALESSNIPER.com.
Change that from Matt to James because you'll never get a response.
Oh, that's how you know. Yep. So that'll be interesting. See if anybody gets back to us. But we really need someone to come in and admin this shit and make sure that we can handle. Because I get. So I don't know if I can break down how our business works for people intentionally. We don't do any advertising.
Nope.
But we do the podcast and we do 19 other pieces of content every week. So we do 5 on LinkedIn, 5 on Twitter, 5 on business Facebook, 5 on personal Facebook, and then we have a YouTube video. So that's every single week. So that's 21 pieces of content plus a podcast, which then gets broken up into an additional segment as well, which is also a YouTube video. So it's a podcast segment for remarketing, and everything we do is organic. And then I usually just boost a few posts just to get some engagement for like $5 a day. So we essentially don't really spend any money on our marketing, and everything that we do is through word of mouth, referral, and content. And that's what we do. That's how we've done it. I was actually I did a video shoot yesterday, and I was talking to the guy, and he's just like, so what do you do? I was like, I just do whatever I want. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, oh, I spent a long time trying to like, not copy people, but like find out what other people were doing that was working. And then I was just like, ugh, I just can't be fucked. So I just decided I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And ever since I started doing that, it's worked out much better.
Yeah, as long as I approve of that.
In terms of content.
Doing what other people do, it works for them because it's them. You know what I mean? What works for us because it's us. It's our personality. It's our branding and what we do. If you're trying to copy that from someone else, you're just going to fall flat on your face because you're not that person with that personality.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see like when we build the funnel, because we're building a funnel at the moment for the closing code. So we just engaged like a really good funnel builder. And then I've got a chat with a sales copywriter. And it was funny because, Brad Lee, that guy, he invented that awesome website.
He's a sales guy, right?
Yeah, he's a sales trainer guy.
Yeah.
He invented that amazing membership website platform. And I can't remember what it's called. Next Level or some shit like that. Anyway, it's really good.
Go high level?
No. It's what Jeremy uses. It's what Barry uses. All the big players who have really, really big membership sites, that's what they use. It's all heavily protected content. It's really good anyway. But he just launched a sales training funnel, which is like identical to Cardone's. It's hilarious. It's like the smoldering look, and I've collected more cash and done more deals. It's like, ugh. And it's funny because I think that all the stuff that I do for it is going to be like, ugh, I'm sorry, I'm not a douchebag. It's going to be very opposite.
I've seen Grant Cardone. It looks like he's hired new ads people because he's just got all these ads out at the moment, whereas him photoshopped onto things as memes.
Yeah, right.
Trying to obviously change his reputation.
He's getting ahead
There's
of the
another
curve.
one. There's another one that I saw, a guy here in Australia. I think it's Sasha. It's just basically, I am alpha. You want to be alpha? Come do stuff with me.
I fucking hate that, man.
I remember he's not alpha. Like the video that he's filming in, it's like, look how good I am. And it's like an Airbnb. It's like, you don't own that fucking building. You rented it out for a day.
The thing I hate about that is, man, like when I was a personal trainer, because I'm ex-military, done plenty of combat, come from like a special forces, and I come from snipers within special forces, which is considered the elite of the elite of the elite. You know what I mean? Whether it is or not, I think it's probably not true, but that's kind of the perception. I just remember, we just don't take ourselves so seriously. And then I became a personal trainer. There was this one personal trainer, I don't know if I can remember his name, but he had like an alpha program. And then she just used to fucking ride me because I was like, what do you even know? And I remember he was gobbing off one day and I said, motherfucker, the hardest thing you've ever done is a deadlift. I go, don't fucking spout off around me about what it is being alpha and all this bullshit. I was like, you don't know anything. Anyway, he didn't like me very much, which is fair enough because I was probably kind of a prick to him. But I was young and I was impulsive. But I hate that whole alpha thing because, like, what does it even mean? Does it mean you're a dick? Like, is that what they're trying to get?
It's just an ego stroke for that person. You're putting those ads out at you at the center because you want to be at that center because you have a massive ego and you need to stroke that and fuel that fire.
Yeah. It's funny. So AJ Morton, who runs an awesome website, Facebook group thing called the Fit Pro Mentorship Review. And apparently the closing code and like my particular our sales training, my one-on-one and the closing code got a whole bunch of got an influx of, hey, buddy.
Hello.
Hello.
How you going, buddy?
Say, buy the closing code.
Buy the closing code.
Okay.
Done.
Can you hop back
Sold.
out? Yeah, sweet. So yeah, AJ Morton from the Fit Pro Mentorship Review site reached out to us, and because we had a whole bunch of really, really cool testimonials in there, and because our thing's only $50 a week, he was like, they were like, holy shit, how are you getting all these testimonials when this thing's only $50 a week? And apparently they were really good. And there was about 10 or 15 of them in there. So
Oh, nice.
he reached out. I had a meeting with him. And so AJ from the Fit Pro Mentorship Review kind of reached out to me because apparently we had a whole bunch of really, really good testimonials put into his group. So what he does is he runs a group for fitness professionals that can have a absolutely no bullshit. It's a closed, no coaches allowed, only genuine fit pros. They all get, which is fitness professionals. They all get vetted. They can't have a coaching program. They have to be in the industry. And then there are people who are looking for mentorship, and people post reviews, completely honest, unadulterated reviews of experience they've had with different mentors, whether it be sales coaches, business coaches, whatever it may be. And we have apparently phenomenal reviews in there. So he reached out to me. There's about 4,000 people in there. And he was like, hey, man, I want you to be like the sales guy for it. So we're going to create a unit for you. We had a bit of a conversation, but it was funny because going back to that whole ego thing, he's like, so why are you doing this, man? Like, it's a lot of value, $50. I was like, oh, I don't need the money. He was like, what? And I was like, yeah. So like, I'm a sales guy, man. Like we make money through commissions. That's what we do. And then we do other stuff with sales processes. But I've done so many overpriced sales courses and overpriced courses in general that I'm going to release all this content at some stage. If you look at my Facebook, I mean, all you had to do is be my friend on Facebook and you'd probably get better at sales because we don't even do call to actions. We just have content. That's it. There's the occasional link dropped in there or something, but I mean, it's pretty rare. And actually, I don't get as good a response when I do that. So I'd rather just put the content out and leave it up to people to kind of come after me, which seems to be working. And so I was just like, oh no, I can see you don't actually care, do you? I was like, oh no, I don't care. This is like a fun little thing that I do that I think, honestly, my goal for it is to make the sales training in there so good and so cheap that whenever they sign up to any other coaching program for sales, they demand a refund because mine is such better value. I go, that is the goal, because I think that'll shake things up a bit. And every other sales trainer out there has to make money off sales training, whereas I don't, because we have commissions, we have all these other stuff going on. And if we get that up to a good amount of money, that's great, but it's not really my intent. My intent is to create a cool community of people who are doing the right stuff. I've already found some good salespeople, which we've employed through there. So for me, it's like a win-win. If it's making money, that's great.
It's a recruitment ground.
It's a recruitment drive. It also creates a good community. It makes my standing as a sales trainer really good because we're massively over providing value. So people talk about me, and then eventually it'll probably be good farm work when we actually get the systemized high-end sales training stuff up and running. You got to farm people for that. But it's just a good way to make some money and have fun doing it.
There will be upsells into higher level stuff, but it's not going to be, hey, we're using this as an upsell funnel, because the people that get through that content, they get to a level where it's like, we need more. The direction you take from there is having your calls reviewed, doing role plays and doing one-on-one stuff then. And when I say there'll be upsells in there, it's like those people are going to come to us because we are the premier people to want it. Then we can have a conversation, but we're not going to use it as leads.
Exactly. I don't really want to be farming from the group. People can farm themselves. And then when I had the video shoot yesterday and we did some stuff about it, and I was just saying like the why I created it. And it was like, I created it because like, I just want people to have a place where they can come in and help people. Because the thing about sales training is a lot of the time it's designed to take you too far down the rabbit hole. And if you're a business owner or like a fitness professional and like, you don't need to be a guru.
Hire a sales sniper instead.
Yeah. But if you don't need to be a guru, you just need to be good enough. Why pay $30,000 for sales training when you just need to be good enough? That's it.
Exactly right.
And so that course is really designed to make you good enough. And there's a lot of stuff in there which is quite nuanced, where if you do take it on, you'll get pretty damn good. Mora, one of the guys in there, he's closing like a $4,000 US fitness deal. He's closing over 90%. He closed 9 in a day.
Love it.
He was 9 from 10. Oh, no, he was 8 from 9 calls. Sorry, 8 from 9 calls in a day.
That's awesome. The other thing is when you look at it like that, all right, the course is designed to take you to get you good where you can, if you have an agency, you can close all the deals yourself. You close it a high enough where it's easy.
Sorry to interrupt real quick. It's actually just good to reframe that in general, whether it's us, because I don't just want to talk about our shit, but in general, courses that's what a course is designed to do. Right. So there's a difference in courses and coaching. So if you're out there kind of wanting to get better at sales, you've got courses and you've got coaching. So if you've done a bunch of courses, you don't need to do any more courses. Then you want to step into coaching. Yeah. So courses are designed to get you up to a level where it's like, okay, like you're pretty good. You're manageable. Then to get from there to really good, it sort of requires someone to come in and really listen to what you're doing. There's a fair bit of nitty-gritty work that has to be done. My recommendation is if you've done loads of courses, don't come do the closing coach. You can if you want to. You can check it out. But get a coach, whether it's me or who. There's fucking heaps of them. And I'm sure a lot of them are really good. Cole Gordon's really good. I think Bella's really good. Vanessa Horn's really good. Jeremy Miner's really good. Eli's good. All these guys are good. And it's just, you just got to pick a lane and kind of go down the rabbit hole if you're looking to get really good, because what you don't want to do is try and get really good at like 6 different styles of selling. Just pick a style that you really resonate with. If it's my style, that's great. If it's Jeremy's, if it's Cole's, if it's this, if it's Eli's, who cares? Whatever you really resonate with, go down the rabbit hole on that one style, and then figure out what products that style works best for selling. We were talking today and I was like, I think we really need to do some of the Simon Bowen stuff, because we have a client that we really weren't doing that well for. It was kind of like okay, but it's a really, really technical sale and it's not really in the wheelhouse of what we do. And that kind of technical sale is not really in the wheelhouse of something that's going to be really productive for the type of selling that we do. It's more of like a very logic-based sale. It needs to be visual. We don't do any of that stuff. So I introduced her to Vanessa Horn. And that's, I was like basically giving her one of our clients. And I just said, I think that you'll do a better job because the way they sell is
will
really
resonate with her audience.
I think so. And also she's a woman. They're both women. They get a lot of women clients. So maybe that'll help as well. But yeah, so I just think go down the rabbit hole and then realize for us, coaching, the way that we sell is ideal for any sort of coaching program. Whether it's real estate agents, we're doing well for Serhnant. I think we've collected $80,000 in cash in 2 weeks, in the first 2 weeks of selling.
Without paid ads?
Without any paid ads. That's just through email blasts. And then all the other coaching guys that we do, like it works very, very well for that particular type of sale. But I would say if it's something highly, highly technical, I dare say I probably these days would just say no to it.
Yeah. Or refer.
I think referring out is a legit way of doing things.
Yeah. If there's someone better at doing it than us, we're not going to use it to get you to do it. If there's a better option, we'll tell you. One of the gyms that we're selling for, obviously before all the lockdown and that, we were getting a horrible pickup rate. People weren't answering the phone calls. However, they sent out text messages, the same leads, 6 of them booked in to come down to the gym for a consultation. And he was speaking to me about it. I'm like, we can't get people on the phone, but you can text them to come straight to the gym. Dude, you don't need us. Just do that. That's your business model. You know what I mean? Like, it's
way cheaper
and cheaper. Do that.
Yeah, because we charge a pretty decent retainer for fitness work. So because of the amount of hours that are involved. Yeah. So I was like, just save your money, bro. Like, who cares?
Yeah. You get a better result.
Yeah. It's all about the result. And if you do that for people, like they'll refer people to you because they're like, they're not like just looking out for themselves. They're actually, like I told that client this morning, I was like, listen, as much as I like working with you and want to be on your account, I was like, we need to find a different way of doing it. And I'm not really willing to put in the time and the resources to learn how to do it. So I was like, I just think we need to introduce you to this person and then kind of see how that goes. And she was like, okay. Because I was like, my main concern is you getting sales. And if it's through somebody else and I facilitated that, I still look like a winner.
Exactly right.
So,
and it's just the ethical thing to do. Do the right thing. That's where you get.
Do the right thing. Yeah. So what's your plan for the next month, my friend? Oh, let's talk about this funny little deal that you got going on with the place that you're living in.
Oh, yeah, right. So just took a lease out on a new place. I haven't been here for very long. And the house went up for sale that I leased out. And they got an offer on the house. They want to buy me out to move out when I've still got 10 months left on the lease. So I was like, okay, let's play a game. I want this much money plus rent free while I find somewhere. And if you can do that, I'm happy to move.
Did they come back to you yet?
I haven't even spoken to them, but it's going to be very expensive because I hate moving. It's inconvenient.
Oh, it's a massive inconvenience. And also you got your office set up. You got to take time off work. Yeah.
I
So
haven't even had all of my furniture be delivered that I bought. You know what I mean? Half of it's office furniture. So technically I do, technically I don't. Hence the shitty background.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. You called me up. You're like, "What do I do?" And I was like, "Oh, you got to crunch him, bro. You got him over a barrel. It's a $900,000 house or $1 million house, whatever it is. If that guy, obviously the buyer wants to move in. So right now it's an encumbered property because they have to sell it with legally. So
he wants to live there with his family, and
3 months. 3 months rent is not unusual to do that. So whatever that is, if you're paying $1,000 a week, at least 12 months, at least 12,000 minimum.
I'm thinking 20
minimum. Yeah, why not? Fuck it. Going high, And then if you get rent free as well. So I want 6 weeks of rent free. I want this amount of money. And then I want my bond back.
I don't want to rush into anything. It's just a pain in the ass. Well, you get the bond back regardless. So
sweet.
Yeah, so interesting. A sale that's a different type of sale. Maybe I'll have a conversation and record it.
Just start smashing them. Negotiation is a sale. It's just a different. I was negotiating with one of my like commercial properties that I have, and they were trying to negotiate because of COVID, but they were just taking the piss. And so I just said, "Oh, I'll just take it back, man," because that was one of the options they put forward. I was like, "Yeah, dude. Well, you haven't paid me for like 3 months." So I was like, "What do I care?" I go, "I'll just take it back." And they're like, "Oh," but I was like, "Oh, that's cool, man. I don't need the money. I've got an offset account against it." So I was just like, "Yeah, I'll just take it back." And then it changed the conversation drastically when they realized I really didn't care. Yeah. And that level of apathy is difficult to negotiate with. So we ended up coming up with an agreement, which I thought I was quite happy with, but still allowed them to do what they need to do. But yeah, Negotiation is a great book called Never Split the Difference on Negotiation that I highly recommend everybody read. It's also a great sales resource, but it's also a fantastic read because it talks about just different types of negotiation. He's an ex-hostage negotiator for the FBI.
CIA or FBI, one of them.
CIA, FBI, one of those things.
Same
one of
thing.
those spooky. Yeah, his name's Chris Voss, but he does some great stuff. But yeah, I think that's all. I think the next guest we have on is going to be AJ Morton from the Fit Pro Mentorship Review, which would be a really interesting one. I've got a meeting with Cole, so I think we might get Cole back on the podcast again because that was a really heavily downloaded one. And then if you guys have any recommendations, people think you should talk to, hit us up, let us know. If you guys want to join it's called Sales Sniper Sales Training Group. That's our group. If you want to hit it up, it's free. We do heaps of content in there. We post stuff in there. We do a weekly live training. So if you guys want to get amongst that, it's just a free group, really.
If you can't find it, we possibly would have changed it to the closing code as a group name.
Yeah, right now it's called Sales Sniper Sales Training, and it's got the Coffees for Closers logo as the group logo. Yeah. But yeah, all right, guys, cool. That's enough for me. What I'd like you to do is review, subscribe, download, do anything that you think you need to do in order to share it. If you do leave a review, please talk about something specific, a little gold nugget that you got from today's episode, and share it around with your friends if you like it. And if you don't, I truly don't care. Sweet.
Brent. Bye.
Bye.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.